Welcome back. You're in the C-Space studio here at CES 2025 with me, James Kotecki. We are sponsored this year, as we were last year, by Integral Ad Science. We are so excited about that, and we are so excited to have Integral Ad Science's Chief Product Officer, Srishti Gupta, here with us in the C-Space studio. Thank you for joining us.
Excited to be here, James.
And thank you for sponsoring. I want to just give you a chance to define the brand. What does IAS mean? And I know you're 3 months in here, so that's just enough time to be dangerous, right? And like, you kind of know a little bit about what's going on. So
Yes.
what does the brand mean here in 2025?
Yeah, so IAS has, for us, it's all about brand effectiveness and brand performance and ensuring that we are building tools around that. And our roots have really been in protection, making sure that brands are in the right place, brand suitability, right, brand equity. And we're on this journey to move towards more ROI and performance-based tools, using actually pretty much the same tech, the same signals we have. So it's really building on our solid foundation and helping marketers, kind of close the gap towards more performance.
Yeah, Mark was mentioning this earlier in another conversation with one of your colleagues here in the C-Space studio, this idea that previously it was all about just keeping away from the bad stuff, right? But now that you know where everything is, you can kind of run towards the good stuff and be more aggressive or assertive or proactive in terms of your approach.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So who do you think is winning and losing the battle for customer attention? And I suppose there's a bunch of different ways you could take that question, but when you think about who's succeeding and who's not when it comes to reaching their audiences, how do you think about framing that up?
Yeah, attention is a very interesting one because even before we talk about who's winning and losing, think of attention as, first off, understanding it's finite, right?
Yes.
Extremely fragmented, and it's extremely dependent on the environment the customer finds themselves in. So platforms that are able to create like immersive experiences that are relevant to the customers, and yet advertisers have an effective way of engaging with the customers, those are the ones that are winning. Now for us at IAS, we think of attention as it's measurable and it's actionable. And that's what we're focused on. We're focused on building the tools that provide that. So for example, our quality attention metrics, it helps marketers move beyond viewability in order to actually truly understand customer attention. And we've even expanded on our AI and ML capabilities by bringing in partnerships like Lumen, where we are actually doing eye tracking studies. So enhancing those metrics. And the good thing is these metrics directly tie to business impact. So we see that if there is attention on something, it's likely to perform 130% higher. So there's just the brand effectiveness is high.
You mentioned attention is finite and it's fragmented. What is easier, do you think, to get people to pay more attention in terms of more time and to try and squeeze something else into their day, or to get them to pay better attention? Maybe with things like eye tracking, we can measure whether they're paying better attention to something.
I think it's both. The quality of attention is really important, right? Because at the end of the day, if you want, from an advertising perspective, you want the brand to resonate and have recall. And that ultimately is what matters.
So let's talk AI. We have to talk about AI because this is CES 2025. What are your customers expecting from AI? And then how are you delivering that?
Yeah, well, this is a space that has evolved very, very quickly. So we very quickly moved in advertising from AI being something that is an experimental tool to really now our customers are demanding that, listen, I really want my workflow to be better. I want to be able to get signals and insights much faster. I really need to be able to deliver performance. So that is what we are really focused on. The other thing that we are hearing is that they want more transparency. They really don't want a black box. They want to be able to control the knobs and levers and understand truly what's driving performance. So at IAS, the way we are approaching it, AI is really at the core of what we do. And I've been amazed since I've joined at looking at the breadth and depth of our capabilities. So like we process around 280 billion interactions a day. That's a lot, right? And being able to look at it across hundreds of dimensions. So that is always what we've done. But now through tools like Total Media Performance, which we just announced this week, which I'm very excited about, we're actually now saying, how do you use those tools and drive a higher ROI? And in all of this, we're making sure that it's transparent. So as an example, our product advertisers can actually see what is working, what is not working, and what type of decisioning the AI is actually doing for them.
And what kind of interface, because you're talking about building the product out, what kind of interface do your customers, your clients expect? Do they like a chat interface? Do they want a good old dashboard to see this stuff where the insights maybe they're generated through some kind of natural language? What are you finding that people actually want to use this for from a business perspective?
I think the bigger ask from that we are hearing is not so much about how they interact with it, but how quickly they can. So what we are hearing more is, give me tools that are more real time. I don't want to wait for my campaign to end. I want to be able to actually decision much faster. I want to do it with less effort. So that is what we're hearing a lot more versus how they actually get access to the data.
Do you think people have misconceptions about AI in advertising today?
So many, right? But that's expected. That's expected. It's an evolving industry. I think the biggest one that maybe I worry about a little bit is to think that AI is actually just going to take the strategic oversight away, or it's not going to be needed. Because at the end of the day, advertising, built on the foundation of strong AI, still very much needs creativity, innovation, human judgment. So we think of it as being an enabler to unlocking innovation. We think of it as a 1 + 1 = 3, versus saying that it's a substitute. And also making sure that, going back to what I was saying, that it's very transparent and advertisers actually have control over it.
And maybe not within IAS or any of your customers, but are you seeing people really make that mistake of like, oh, I'm going to just rip out the human element of something that I was previously doing with a human, and then maybe they're having that kind of regret after the fact? Are you seeing that really happen?
I think what we are seeing is when the goal is, I want to reduce the number of humans, right? If your goal is, I want to increase the effectiveness of my campaign, how do I do that? That is a very different mindset versus saying, well, I need 15%, 10 people working on it.
Can we talk a bit about cross-industry and kind of cross-customer collaboration? Tell me about how you at IAS are iterating rapidly based on what you're hearing from your clients and customers, and how that kind of partnership works together.
Yeah, so cross-country collaboration, industry collaboration is just so important when you think about this industry, right? Like, it's just so complex with all of the different players. So for us, it's a really important part of our strategy. I'll give you a couple of examples just from the last year. So for example, we've partnered with both TikTok and Meta in making sure that we are helping brands be safer and build on their brand equity through video exclusion lists and content block lists, something that either can't do by themselves. So that's great. I talked about our partnership with Lumen Research, bringing in eye tracking into attention. So these are some examples. Like, we are very much leaned in to solving the problem, making sure that we are doing it wherever we find the right solution.
I looked up your bio, and I know you're passionate about women in STEM fields. Is there something that you want to tell our audience, or kind of encourage people in terms of thinking about how to get more women involved in careers like science, technology, engineering, and math?
Yeah, it's something that I deeply care about, and I think that what I would say is that there are many different paths for women in STEM. So very often we only think of it as like engineering roles, and that's how you get started. There's product development, there's design, there's so many different ways. So I would just say that just because you maybe like one field and not another, do not rule it out as a whole, but actually explore many different paths, and which is actually also much better for your long-term career growth. So I would say take that first step, find a way in, even if it's a different one.
A theme here, I think, from our conversation is just getting as much data as possible, whether that's for your advertising campaigns or your personal life, right?
That's correct.
Is there another question? Is there a question that you think I should ask some of the other leaders that are going to be here in the C-Space studio?
Yeah, I was looking at everyone you'll be talking with, and it's such a fascinating list. For me, I'm always thinking about customer backwards, right? So what are the customer needs that we are still not solving? And I think that would be a really good one to think about. How has how has everyone's product roadmap actually changed based on what they've heard this year and what is still unmet?
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Srishti Gupta of Integral Ad Science, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us here in the C-Space studio. I'm James Kotecki. More conversations are coming your way, so keep it right here. This is CES 2025.